So yeah, man, I've been watching all this shit on Boeing lately, and I wouldn't like Southwest is almost all Boeing. I don't think I'd take a Southwest flight right now. United's another one. If I'm taking a flight, I'm gonna have to make sure that it's not on a Boeing. I just don't trust them. I mean, a lot of weird shit. Doors are flying off mid-flight. Wheels are falling off. A couple crashes with the Max 8 a couple years ago, and then there's a report on a Max 9, same problem. It was flying over in Indonesia, and it just took a nosedive from 30-something thousand feet down to 10,000 feet. 50 people were injured. Because, I mean, everybody just got slammed. Boom. Tons of issues. They failed like 33 out of whatever it was. I don't know if they said 33 of 85 or 33 of 58 safety inspections or something. Really bad. So be careful if you're flying out there. Don't fly on Boeing until they figure this shit out. It needs to be grounded. But what I learned in this whole thing when I was looking at it, Boeing actually pays the salaries of the FAA inspectors that are inspecting their own companies. So how the fuck is that? Is that not a conflict of interest there? If the company that's paying your paycheck is also the inspector?
Well, as far as my knowledge is insane, Chef, is that, see, I used to work for San Antonio Aerospace.
Okay.
I was working on the cargo planes. And anything and everything we took off that aircraft, we had to sign for.
Right.
And once you've signed your first name or for your first signature on that part, that was with you for the next 10 years of your life.
So they know exactly who to go to if something
major happened like that.
Major happened like
because they had to sign out for it.
Right. So they know exactly who to blame if something goes wrong.
Yes.
So how the hell is Boeing getting away with doing whatever the hell they want to do?
Apparently they don't have the right investigator doing the investigation of whose name is on them parts
right.
and what's going on with serious situations.
Serious,
I mean, you can also go to like lubing up the trucks, which is the wheels. Okay, that's what they call them, the trucks.
Right.
All right. You lube them up, bearings and everything. You know, you got different greases for different areas, and for like your cables that control your wings. You gotta lube them up, keep them nice and greased and oiled. Because if you don't, then it's going to start to fray. It's going to start having chafings and everything else on it and everything else, and it's got to be lubed.
Which probably explains why the wheels fell off that one.
If it's not lubed, it ain't going to maneuver the right way. It's not going to move the right way. It's not going to do the right job it's supposed to be trained to do, or it's built to do, or designed to do.
What do they call the thing that goes, like the rudder, actuators, the rudders and all, that keeps it left, right, or whatever?
They're rudders.
Yeah, so they basically were saying that some of those weren't working at all, that the pilot was having to hand crank them and shit, just crazy stuff. And then when they developed the Max 8, it's the 737s, but they came out, what they were trying to do is have a more fuel efficient, longer range, fuel efficient plane, and Airbus beat them to the punch by about 10 years. They're playing catch up. So what they did is they took the same body, basically, put the larger engines that are more fuel efficient. They had to set them further up to the front of the plane because the weight distribution wasn't working right. They set too far back. It was hard to get their lift because it was putting too much weight on the back of the plane, right? So they ended up putting a system on their software to keep the nose from going too far up because of the weight or whatever. And it's supposed to keep the plane stable and keep from having stall. However, they didn't tell anybody, they didn't tell the pilots and stuff, they didn't want to train them on it, they didn't want to bring them back in the simulator, it could cost a lot of money. So instead of telling them, hey, you might need training on this, they were just like, yep, same plane, handles the same, nothing to worry about. They don't tell them, I think this thing is called the MCAT system or something like that. They don't tell them that this system's even on there. So these pilots have no idea what the hell's going on. They're taking off. Well, Well, they were faulty because they would tell it just on normal takeoff that the nose is too high and bring the nose down. And these sensors went out faulty all the time. All they would have had to done, well, first of all, tell the pilots if there's a system, they need to go in a simulator and find out if this happens. This is how you fix it.
Right.
They didn't do that. Then if they'd have put two sensors, they put one on the right side, they didn't put any on the left side of the nose. If they'd have had two, that way if one's faulty and they're both communicating together, like, oh, this could be a false reading, we don't need to just drop the nose right now. So these planes are basically taking off and immediately nose down because it's telling it to that the plane's in a stall when it's not in a stall.
They may also call them flaps as well.
Yeah, I forgot the.
Because they move up and down.
Yeah, well, this is the one that goes left,
That's
right.
rudder. That's rudder.
Rudder, yeah. So it's a lot of these planes are trying to land and they can't even hit the center runway because the plane's doing its own thing, and not responding to controls. They were trying to save money, and it's just, what do they save, man? It's basically that whole corporation's in the tank now. It's just trash. I mean, every major airlines is canceling their orders right now because who the hell wants to deal with all that, man? Do you want to put your pilots in harm's way? Do you want to put your passengers? I mean, this shit directly reflects. A lot of times people are just like, don't fly this airlines because they just had a crash. Well, they're not the ones at fault. It's the damn manufacturer of the plane. But I think now it's bringing a lot to it.
There's people who went and did the repairs and the inspections and stuff like that. It's people who was not doing their job but half-assed.
Yeah, a lot of half-assed stuff. They're putting these planes out. They're not doing the final check-off. Yeah, we got bolts in the doors.
That comes from inspectors and stuff like that as well.
And the inspectors are throwing the tape, being paid by the company, but they're just like, yeah, good to go. You know. So when you worked there, you were in charge of doing.
I was a panel crew. I was panel crew. Where I dismantle panels and the insulation so they can get to the bare metals to get to the wires and everything else, so they can do inspections on the wires and the frame and so forth, so on. I was just panel crew. So
you're taking panels off, getting it down to the bare, and then
and then they have their people come in.
They do all the stuff.
Like the avionics would come in and check out the wiring, and then you'd have people who were specialized in frame working. They come in and check it out.
Right. So yeah, who knew? Baby Sticks here's a rocket scientist. So did you like that job, or was it?
Actually, I did enjoy that job, and then they got it to where I was doing like the new fabrications of the panels, where I had to go get the materials to cut out the panels.
Yeah.
And I'd have to make, like, if I had to make new ones because they had a rip or tear in them, because we did the cargo planes, what we did, which is, you don't have to worry about the seats and stuff like that,
So you're doing cargo, so
yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's a little easier. You don't worry about seats in the way and shit.
Right. Well, I also did go over to Boeing. Was it Boeing? Not Boeing. What was that place? Delta's line. And when I went over to Delta's line, that's when we took out the seats to access the floor panels. We had to take the floor panels out and put them back in after everything was inspected. We were just panel crew. I just dealt with just the panels.
Right.
Basically.
So basically, when you're doing plane maintenance and all, if it's crews specifically, this is their task.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the best way to do it, because that way they know exactly what their job is.
Right.
They don't miss anything.
We also accessed the outside panels up on the wings and up there on the tail, and did some work there on them, and I did some lubing on the trucks and on the cables that go to the plane.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody knows, but where's the fuel stored on the plane?
I know where it's stored. You guys know where it's stored?
Matter of fact, it is stored in your wings.
The wings, yeah.
It's stored in the wings of the plane. You ever tried getting into the wing to to do repair work in the wing,
I imagine it's a pain in the butt.
it's real tight.
I would
Really,
imagine
really
so.
tight. You are not going to be a big chubby person and try to get in a hole like that.
That's why you see, though, if you see like a plane crash and the wing hits something like a water tower or something, instant explosion because that's where the fuel's at.
It leads right down to the motors. Yes.
So, nothing a lot of people don't understand about or don't know about planes is like, of course, most everything's run on hydraulics, but those cables you're talking about is like the emergency plan in case you lose hydraulic pressure, pump, hose bust, whatever. You can still manually in the cockpit use cranks to crank the hydraulics, the actuators and things. And
Right.
And still make it fly.
But they still need lubricated.
Yeah, and like that Lion Air, the one that crashed in wherever that was, I think it was in Africa when it crashed. But anyway, it was the pilot was actually trying to hand crank to get the nose back up, but it happened right at takeoff. There wasn't enough time to get it to straighten out.